Hi, I'm Matt from the HMO platform. We help landlords across the UK to get on course towards profitability, wealth and success in an ethical way using our next level HMO and co-living strategies. In this video, we will be focusing on the old way versus the new way of doing HMOs. We started investing in HMOs about 4 years ago, and the old way of doing it was to take a property that had some spare rooms like a dining room and a living room and just turning them into maybe magnolia painted bedrooms, obviously with the correct level of compliance. Then the market changed and more people started to create HMOs. You had to start to beat the market to stand out. Maybe adding some en-suites was enough, or painting a grey feature wall and getting a furniture pack from an HMO furniture supplier. We found this worked really well for a couple of years, and then the market changed because everyone started to do the same thing. We had en-suite properties everywhere with grey feature walls and the same furniture. There was no difference between them anymore, and we no longer stood out. So there is a new way of doing HMOs, and we have to be a lot smarter when we do it. So when you're being smarter, I suggest that what we need to do is be aware of what is out there in the marketplace and what other people are doing, and then do something different so that your property stands out from the rest. And then you need to make sure that it stands out not just today, but in the future as well. So in a year's time, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time. When we started out a few years ago, we grew a portfolio and we did it one way, and now we have to revisit those properties and then spend a little bit of time, a little bit of money to give them a little bit of love to be able to make them perform as well as the newer stock that we're adding to the portfolio today. I just wanted to draw your attention to 2 deal examples that we've done personally to show you how to do it and how not to do it, an old deal that we did versus a new deal that we do and how we do it into the future. So this first deal was a property that we bought in Warrington. It's an area that we've got properties, and we've still got properties, and we're still developing the odd property there. Now this property was bought as a 3-bed mid-terrace property. The idea was to turn it into a 5-bedroom all-en-suite HMO as a really simple conversion just by putting in some drop ceiling, some sole pipes, new kitchen and 5 en-suites. We've got the licensing officer on board with the scheme. We didn't need planning permission as it's not an Article 4 area, and we thought that we would uplift the value by making it really nice because it was a run-down old home and needed a bit of love. So that's what we did. We spent around £65,000 doing it up and bought it for £105,000. And that process took about 4 months to complete. When it got revalued on a hybrid mortgage product, which is one of those products that banks like Shawbrook will do, where they look at the property and they add a premium to it for being an HMO, because you've made it recognisable as an HMO, but more importantly, unrecognisable as a family home. So they give you a bit of a better value than the house next door. And for us, that premium was the purchase price plus the refurbishment costs. Because if you think about it, why would a bank give us a much higher valuation on, let's say, a commercial basis if someone can just go buy the house next door to this one and then spend £65,000 on it and create the same product? So that's what we've got. It got revalued at £170,000 as a 5-bedroom all-en-suite HMO, where properties on that street still sell for only about £140,000. Now that's the old way of doing it, and that's probably one of our worst performing HMOs. It's not, it's still good money, but it's still the worst performing one, and it doesn't make as much as our larger stuff today. We also didn't pull out as much money as we could have done if it was one that had planning permission on a larger scheme. So that was the old way of doing it. Now the new way of doing HMOs is to find something where we can add true value. So that's finding something which is truly below market value, or something which we can add planning gain to. And that's what we like to do. So when you add planning, you might go for an Article 4 area, for example, and we go for planning permission for a C4 small HMO, and then also potentially go for sui generis planning permission for 7 or more in a large HMO. Alternatively, we might convert something from an office or a retail unit into an HMO via residential flats or houses on the way. Now this next example is where we took an office and converted it into an 8-bedroom HMO and a 1-bedroom flat. This particular deal started out life as an insurance broker's office and had been since about 1957. So what we did was to use a planning permission called permitted development to be able to convert the building into 2 dwellings, which was a house and a flat in the basement. We then implemented that permission by creating it and putting people in, and then we could subsequently turn that house into a C4 HMO as it was not an Article 4 area. Once we implemented the permission, we then went back to the council with a full planning application for a sui generis HMO, which was granted and allowed us to have more than 7 people in the property. And we still had the 1-bedroom flat in the basement. This process took a little bit more time than it would if we'd done it now, because we were still feeling our way. It was our first commercial deal after all, but we'd still do the same thing, we'd just do it better and quicker now. Now for this property, we purchased it for £147,000, spent about £250,000 on it, and it got revalued at £483,000. So actually it's quite decent to be able to uplift the value so dramatically from your initial purchase price to getting that valuation at the end, which was a commercial valuation based on the turnover of the property. I've done other videos about commercial valuations, so if you want to learn more about that, I suggest go and check those out now. So that's how you can really maximise your property by maximising the turnover. And we managed to get market-beating rents. In fact, we got 20% above other properties in the area. It was fantastic to be able to set that new market rent, which is now highly achievable in other properties as well that are good quality about 18 months later on. So we were market leading, and that's how to do HMOs today. And that's what we like to do when we go into a new area, is to beat the market and disrupt the existing marketplace. So again, I suggest that's what you go and do. Instead of just looking at the old way of doing HMOs, where you're going to leave a lot of money in the property, you look for properties where you can sweat the asset a little bit more, where you can get a little bit more out of it, and where you can get that planning gain, you can get an enhanced uplift in value. And that's the new way of doing HMOs. The new way also involves designing them with the tenant in mind, so researching what your tenant wants before you start and creating a unique design that stands out from the crowd, so that you're the one that always has tenants, and you only need to be in the top 10% of properties in the area, and you will always be full. You won't have to worry about voids. And when people say that a market is saturated, the market might be saturated for certain types of property, especially the old way of doing HMOs. There's plenty of those out there. That market is saturated. The new way of doing HMOs is not, because you're creating a different product that stands out from the crowd that tenants love to live in. And that's that co-living community of that new way of doing HMOs. So that's it for this video. Check out the rest of our series of videos to learn more, and hit subscribe to get updated about new video releases. And you can check out our website as well to find out more about how you can learn with us in person at the HMO platform. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.